Okay, so let us start today's session. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see the screen? Yes. Okay. So this is the GATE topic, quantum mechanics, and we will talk about quantum mechanics today, and there will be 3 questions today. So like if time will permit, then I will go for the 3 questions, or otherwise we will stop on the 2 questions only. So let us start with first question. Okay, so in that question I am just taking the question from grade 2018. Okay, and the question is question number 8. So what is the question here? Among the electric field E, magnetic field B, angular momentum L, and vector potential okay, so among electric field E, magnetic field B, angular momentum L, and vector potential A, which is or are odd under parity space inversion operation. Sorry. So this is the question, and there are 4 options. The options are like E only, E and A only, E and B only, and B and A only. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start from the very beginning as all the people has joined. So this is the GATE topic, quantum mechanics, and we are talking about the GATE 2018 question number, and the question 2018 question paper, and from that question paper I am taking the question number 8. And what is the question here? The question is among electric field E, magnetic field B, angular momentum L, and vector potential A, which is or are odd under parity space inversion operation. And the 4 options are one is E only, another one is E and A only, then E and B only, then B and L only. So these are the options. So they have given like electric field, magnetic field, angular momentum, and vector potential. Let us first write these things: electric field, magnetic field, angular momentum, and vector potential. These 3 they have given, and we have to check that which one, how many of these are odd under parity. So what is parity? Basically, like for it is under parity, it is odd or even. So how can I say that? So let's say I have r vector, which I am going to take as minus r vector. So parity means like whatever will be the distance, that means r will be changed to minus r. And if r will be changed to minus r, then I will check that what will be for E, what will be for B, what will be for L, and what will be for A. Like let's say I am going to write here parity of E. Parity of E means like parity, we are going to impose parity on E vector. Then what will happen? If it is E vector itself, then it is even parity. If it is minus E vector, then it is odd under parity. That is the main thing. So we have to check after operating parity operator on E, B, L, A, what will be the final state. Will it be only B or minus B? Only E or minus E, like that. If it is plus E, then it will be even under parity. If it is minus E, then it will be odd under parity. This is the main thing we have to do in that question. So to know these things, how to do that? Let's say I am just writing here at the very first E. At the very first we will calculate about E. So E, we can also see from E I can write it like minus del V del R, right? Because minus like this is the potential gradient, and then there is a minus sign. So E can be written as minus del V del R, where V is the potential, right? And R is the vector here. So if I told you that under the parity R will be replaced by minus R. So now I am going to replace R by minus R. Then so that means what? That means nothing but P, we are going to operate P on E. Then what will happen here? Del R, and here Yes. So it will be minus r, and v under parity v is v will be remain as v. Okay, so there will be no change in v. So you can say that, you can see from that expression that it will become as del v del r, which is nothing but minus of e, right? Because our e was previously minus del v del r, and right now after operating parity on the e, we have the expression del v del r, which is minus of e. So I can say that e under parity is giving minus e. That means it is odd under parity. Okay, so how we can tell that? We are just operate p on e, and we are getting p of e equals to minus e. That's why e is odd under parity. And how do you did that? Minus del v del r. In that equation I can write that. Okay, fine. So e, it is fine that e is odd under parity. So whatever they are asking odd under parity, that means e will be odd under parity. Now from that options you can see that D will not be correct, because here B and L only is there. So that means A, B, C, among A, B, C there will be one option correct. Now coming to other things, B, L and A. Okay, so I have written here something, but I am going to tell first about B, L and A, and after that I will show you what are these I have written there. Okay, so what is L? L I can write at R cross P, right? L is the angular momentum, and R is the linear length, and P is the linear momentum. So after operating P under L, then what will happen here? R cross P, then what will happen here? R will become as minus R, P will also become as minus P. Why? Because P, we can say like P is mv, and mv means what? Dx dt. So you can see that x is nothing but a very equivalent to r. So under parity r is going to minus r, that means x is also going to minus x. So as a whole, under parity of v, we can say that it is going to minus v. So that means under parity of p, it is going to minus p. So that's why I have written here minus r cross minus p. So if I write here minus r cross minus p, it is coming as r cross p, which is nothing but exactly L vector, right? So what will be the result for this? That will be like P of L will be L only. So that means L will not be changed under parity. So that means it is a even parity, right? Okay. So now coming to B and A. B and A. Firstly, I am just going to write about A. So from the Maxwell equation, we can also write that E equals to minus del A del T. So if I write this one, I mean obviously there was grad phi was also there. So like as a whole, I can write it as like E is proportional to minus del A del T, right? So if I just use this expression, then what will happen? You can, I have already told you that under parity E is going as minus E. So in that under parity means, let's say I am putting all right hand side and left hand side, both side parity. Okay, so then what will happen here? Here E is going to minus E. And what about A? I don't know about A, right? So del T of P of A. Then you can see that obviously T will not change under parity. So to have this expression correct, so what we have to do? We have to tell that A will be, under P, A will have to minus A. Why? Because let's say if it is plus A, then it will be minus del A del T, and minus del A del T is nothing but E. But minus E is proportional to E, that is not correct. So that means we have to have P of A is minus A. So that we can have, this is like plus del A del T, and plus del A del T is nothing but minus E. Then it is fine. Okay, so we can have an expression that P of A is minus A. So A is also odd under parity. Okay, now coming to B. B, you know that the curl of A is B, right? So curl is nothing but del L R. So here also you can see that if I have B, I mean parity under B, then what will happen? From this it is minus, from this also it is coming as minus. So as a whole it will come as plus. That means parity under B will be plus B. So it is like this. So it is, what is the meaning of this? It is even under parity. So as a whole, if I just tell a summary about these four, then P is under parity, P is even under parity, A is odd under parity, L is even under parity, E is odd under parity. So E and what was that? E and A, these two are odd under parity, and L and what was that? B, these two are even under parity. So what is the correct answer here? The correct answer is B. Now I will show you what I have written in that table and all. So here you can see that I have just mentioned here how many variables are even under parity. So you can see that in the last column there are all the things are in even. I mean it is already written that, it is already written that all the things whatever I am writing here as variables, these all are even under parity. So what are these? This is time, mass, charge density, time, mass, energy, charge density, power, electric potential, energy density, angular momentum, magnetic field. Okay, this is auxiliary magnetic field, magnetization, and then Maxwell stress tensor. So these all are basically even under parity. Okay. Now coming to who are the odd under parity, then you can see that there are so many variables who are odd under parity. Helicity, magnetic flux, position, velocity, acceleration, linear momentum, mass flow, force, then current density, electric field. You can see that the electric field is also there here, whatever we have calculated right now. Electric displacement vector, polarization, and then electromagnetic vector potential and Poynting vector. So you can see that electromagnetic vector potential also we have calculated here, so which is A. And I think here also magnetic field was given. Yes, magnetic field is given, as well as whatever we told, angular momentum. Yes, angular momentum is also there. So these two are even, whatever we are talked right now, and these two are odd, E and A, with whatever we are talked right now. Now also what is this one? This is nothing but there is a list of that parameters who are the under parity, even or odd under parity. So you can see that here, like I have just mentioned a few of them because like these are most useful in any type of competition exam. So here electric field is even, odd, magnetic field is even, del, I told you that del is going to minus del in presence of parity. Then A is minus A, V potential is coming as V only. This is because it's scalar and it is not changing, there it's a sign under parity. So these are the cases I have mentioned here. So this is the question, first question we were talking about. So do you have any question? You can ask me right now if you have any question on that first question, or otherwise we will go to the second question. I think there will be no question, or you can also put in chat box so that we can have some knowledge if there is anything. Okay, there is nothing in chat box, so that means we will continue to the next question, right? Okay, coming to the next question. So I have just mentioned this table so that you can understand a little bit more about, like, it's a additional sheet, you can tell, like whenever you will see the variables list, then you can you can readily understand that which are the variables who is under parity. What is the parity under this, like is it odd or is it even, that we can simply save by this table only. Okay, and these are the 5 variables which are very much useful in our any type of competitive exam, so that's why I have just listed here these things. Okay, sorry. This is under parity. Okay, so now coming to the next question. Yeah, so next question is from 2019 GATE question paper, physics question paper, and the question is question number 24. So here you can see the question at first. Let psi 1 is 1 0, psi 2 is 0 1. These two are represent two possible states of a two-level quantum system. The state obtained by the incoherent superposition of psi 1 and psi 2 is given by a density matrix that is defined as rho. Rho is equivalent to C1 psi 1 psi 1 plus C2 psi 2 psi 2, this one. Okay, if C1 is 0.4 and C2 is 0.6, the matrix element rho 2 rounded off to one decimal place is what? So they are asking about what will be the value for rho 2 matrix element. There is a matrix rho and matrix element rho 2, what will be the value for that? Okay, so this is the question. So first of all I am just going to write here psi 1 and psi 2, what are they? Psi 1 was 1 0 0 1. Okay, 1 0, psi 2 0 1. So these are the two states, right? Two possible states of a two-level quantum system. As you all are familiar with these two states, the state obtained by the incoherent superposition of psi 1 and psi 2 is given by a density matrix. So how they are related? They are related like, okay, here psi 1 is 1 0, psi 2 is 1 0, and there are two possible states of a two-level quantum system, and the state obtained by the incoherent superposition of psi 1 and psi 2 is given by a density matrix which is written here. So right now I am going to write the density matrix in my note. So what is this one? This one is plus C2 psi 2 psi 2. This is the rho, right? So this is the density matrix, and they are asking about what will be the density matrix element rho 2 value, where C1 is 0.4 and C2 is 0.6. So I am going to write right now what is C1. C1 is 0.4. C2 is 0.6. Okay, so what is the meaning of rho 2 here? That is the main important thing. If you can understand that what is the meaning of rho 2 here, I mean what is the expression for rho 2, then obviously the question is only 2 minutes question. So what is rho 2? Rho 2 means, like you can see here, that the matrix element rho 2, that means in that matrix, if I write the matrix a little bit, let's say our row is like row 1 1, row 1 2, row 2 1, row 2 2. So they are asking about this element. So what is the basically this element? This element means it is nothing but psi 2 rho psi 2. This is the expression for rho 2. Okay. So now you all can say yeah. So you all can say what will be the value of row 1 1, row 1 2, row 2 1, and all these things, right? Because if I already know that what will be the value of row 2, then from that knowledge I can also tell all the other elements also. So what will be row 1 1 here? Row 1 1 will be like psi 1 row psi 1, then row 1 2 psi 1 row psi 2, row 2 1 psi 2 row psi 1. Then I just want to tell you one thing, like it can be your homework like thing, that you have to tell me what will be the value of row 1 2 and row 2 1. Okay, is it equal or is it not? Is it not equal? Or if it is equal, or if it is not equal, then what will be the value of each and every term? So it can be a homework like thing. Okay, but now we are focusing on row 2 value. So what will be row 2? Row 2 is psi 2 row psi 2. So I'm just going here row 2 to psi 2. Okay, psi 2 row psi 2. And what was row there? Row is psi 1 plus C2 psi 2 psi 2. Now what we will do, we will just do a little bit simple mathematics here. So here you can see, so psi 2 C1 psi 1. I'm just doing each and every step so that all of you can understand. Psi 2 psi 2. Now it is like, the first term will be, oh sorry, so first term will be like C1 psi 2 psi 1 psi 1 psi 2. How it is coming? Because here you can see C1 is coming out, it is a constant value, psi 2 psi 1, then psi 1, and then this psi 2 is coming, right? Now I am writing about C2. C2 it is a constant value, so it will come out, then psi 2 psi 2 psi 2 psi 2, because psi 2 psi 2 and this psi 2 psi 2. So this is the case. Now we have to calculate that psi 2 psi 1 and psi 1 psi 2 and psi 2 psi 2 value. So as you can see from that expression of psi 1 and psi 2 state, what is psi 1 and what is psi 2? Psi 1 is nothing but 1 0 and psi 2 is nothing but 0 1. So these two are independent state to each other. So whatever I am writing here, psi 1 psi 2, there are psi 2 psi 1, it will automatically 0. And what about psi 1 and psi 2 psi 2? It will give a value non-zero, and the non-zero value will have a value 1. So if I write here row 2 2, if you don't understand this line, then I can also explicitly tell that how it is coming. But for now, I mean for right now, I can just tell you that if these two are independent state to each other, then psi 1 psi 2 and psi 2 psi 1, the matrix element of that psi 2 psi 1, and I mean bracket notation of psi 1 psi 2 and bracket notation of psi 2 psi 1 are exactly 0. And the bracket notation of psi 1 and psi 2 is giving 1. Okay. So what will be the row 2 2 here? From that row 2 2, I have told you that it is like psi 1 psi 2 psi 1 plus C2 psi 2 psi 2 psi 2 psi 2. So you can see obviously that as I told you that psi 1 psi 2 psi 1, these are giving as 0. So what will be the rest value? The rest value will be only C2 into 1, because this one as a whole it is giving 1, this is also as a whole it is giving 1. So that means as a whole the value is C2. So as you have already shown that row 2 2 is C2, and the C2 value is given as like point, let me check what is the value of C2 here. C2 is 0.6. So I can just simply write here row C2 is 0.6. So what will be the value for row 2 2? The row 2 2 value will be 0.6 here. So coming to the question again here, that will be the value like 0.6. This is the answer. Okay, so this is the case. So this is the second question. So if also you have any question on this question, then we can wait for some time, or otherwise we can go to the next question also. So I'm just going to show these things again. This is psi 1 psi 2, then I'm just going to write psi 1 psi 2. This is row is C psi 1 plus C2 psi 2 psi 2. C1 is this one, C2 is this one, and row I can write like that, row 1 1 row 1 2 row 2 1 row 2 2. Then row 2 2 is like that, row 1 1 is this, row 1 2 row 2 1 is this. Then you can also tell me what is the value of row 1 into row 2 1 in this case. Okay. and is it exactly equal or not? If it is not equal, then what is the value of each element? If it is equal also, then what is the value of this? I mean, if you have time to do that, then you can do that, or otherwise you row 1 1 also you can calculate by your own to have a feeling. Okay, now coming to row 2 2 in that question, whatever we are talking here, you can see that the row I have written, then row 2 2 is psi 2 row psi 2, then I am just mentioned here all the calculations, and then you can see that as row psi 1 and psi 2 are the two independent variables. I mean, so two independent energy state, then psi 1 psi 2 or psi 2 psi 1 bracket notation is 0, or psi 1 psi 1 psi 2 is giving 1, and then we can see that row 2 is C2. So as the C2 value is 0.6, it is given in the question, then row 2 will be 0.6. Is it understandable by everyone? I think yes. Okay, fine. So now coming to the next question, as the time is there, so that means we can go to the next question. The next question is from GATE 2018 again, and the question number is 8. So you can see the question. Okay, there is something. Are the recordings of the property conductors available? Yes, it is available. Basically, see, I'm here the PA of the GATE NPTEL video recording session, right? So I'm just giving all the recordings to the NPTEL coordinator, but I don't know how to get. I mean, how you can access this one. So maybe there is some access to you people also, so that you can see the recordings later also. But otherwise, if you want from me that how I can help you, I have a YouTube video, I mean YouTube link video channel. So in that channel I am going to post this recording after the class over, so you can see from that recording channel also. I mean from that channel you can see the recording of that. Okay, but I think the NPTEL coordinator will give you the access to see these recordings also. And if you want to there is something. Okay, and also there is one drive. In that drive also I am going to send or share these PPTs, so that you all people can access to that. So maybe you can have the access of that Google Drive also. If you don't have any Google Drive access, then I will let you know how to do that. But I think you have the access to see the Google Drive channel and all. And in that Google Drive, I am just going to post each and every week's PPTs. Whatever the PPT I am going to share with you right now, that will be shared there also. Okay. Okay. Now coming to the next question. So the next question is what, given the following table, group 1, group 2, there is basically a table like thing, and here in the left hand side there are 4 experiments. Okay. Yes. So in that group 1 and group 2 there are 4 experiments in the left hand side, and in the right hand side these are the basically nothing but the result of that experiments, right? Like the main output of that experiment, and they are asking that which one of the following correctly matches the experiments from group 1 to their inferences in group 2, and there are 4 options for that, A, B, C, D. Now coming to each and every experiment a little bit. So what is the experiment? First one, the first one is Stern-Gerlach experiment. Second one is Zeeman effect. Third one, Frank-Hertz experiment, and fourth one is Davison-Germer experiment. And what are the 4 options here? Wave nature of particles, quantization of energy of electrons in the atoms, existence of electron spin, space quantization of angular momentum. Okay, so I have just given here I have given here some description about these experiments, like what will be the output of that experiment. See, basically you don't need to know about all the details of that experiment, like all the experimental procedure, all the experimental things inside of that experiment, what it is going to happen, all the things you don't need to remember right now, because there are so many experiments in quantum mechanics, right? So what you need to know, the output of that. like what will be the output from that experiment, what is the result coming out from the experiment. That is very important for you, right? So I have just mentioned here these four experiments, and I have just mentioned that what is the output coming from that experiment, so that it can be very easy to all of you to understand what will be the right option for each and every experiment. Okay, so I have just written here one PPT. You can see that Stern-Gerlach experiment. So what is the Stern-Gerlach experiment tells? The Stern-Gerlach experiment tells about the existence of the spin angular momentum. Okay, so that means the Stern-Gerlach experiment is related to electron has spin half thing. So now coming to the option here, Stern-Gerlach experiment, I told you that the existence of electron spin it is talking about. Then you can see that from that group, our P, that means Stern-Gerlach experiment, can obviously fit to the third option, existence of electron spin, right? Okay, now coming to the options here, you can see that in that option it is like any one of these experiment. If you know only one experiment very correctly, then only you can have the correct option. But obviously we have to know all other experiments also. But as a trick I can tell you that if any one of you know the correct answer, let's say I know the Stern-Gerlach experiment very correctly, and I know from the output of the Stern-Gerlach experiment the output is like existence of electron spin. So these I know perfectly, right? So if I know this one perfectly, then you can see that obviously what will be the correct answer here? The correct answer will be C, because you can see that PU is going as 3. That means none of other options are going as P going to 3. Only this one has the option P going to 3. So that means by seeing only one experiment, let's say I don't know about Stern-Gerlach experiment right now, I forget that one. So, but I know this one, then also it is fine. I know this one, then also it is fine. But any one of the experiment I have to know very clearly. I mean from that question at least. I am not talking about that this is the supreme trick or something, but at least for this experiment what I will do, I will just do only one experiment correctly, and I can see that okay, this is the correct answer. Okay, so they are basically asking about what will be the correct option. Then I can see that this can be a correct option, because you can see our Stern-Gerlach experiment is giving the existence of electron spin, and that electron spin is given in 3, and that means P is matching with 3. Simple. But we have to know the other experiment also. So what is Zeeman effect? Obviously in Zeeman effect you all know that in Zeeman effect we are going to apply some magnetic field, and in the presence of magnetic field the spectral splitting is there, right? But still what is the output of that? The output can be written as space quantization of angular momentum. Why? Because in that experiment you can see that there are energy levels is like that. Like to explain the Zeeman effect, I have to write some quantized value of angular momentum, and there will be some energy levels corresponding to each angular momentum, right? So that means the output of that Zeeman effect is nothing but space quantization of angular momentum. So I have already written here, yes, this is the spectral splitting in presence of magnetic field, and what it proves? It proves the space quantization of angular momentum. Okay. Now coming to the third one. Third one is what? Third one is Franck-Hartz experiment. So what is Franck-Hartz experiment? In that Franck-Hartz experiment, what I can see, in the Franck-Hartz experiment, they are basically for the first time they have shown that the electrons, right? I mean inside the atom, the electrons, whatever it is given, whatever it is present, these electrons are quantized in energy level. That means the electrons can be written in a quantized energy level form. This is the first experiment to prove this to prove this statement. So what is this experiment? The experiment name is Franck-Hartz experiment. So what will be the right answer for that? Franck-Hartz experiment is giving the quantization of energy of electrons in the atoms. Now coming to Davison-Germain experiment. What is Davison-Germain experiment? If you heard, if you remember correctly, then Davison-Germain experiment is giving the proof of de Broglie theory. So what is the de Broglie theory? You can see that the de Broglie theory means that wave nature of particles, like particle can have the duality. I mean that wave nature will also be there, and the particle nature will also be there. So the wave nature duality, this has been told by de Broglie, right? But it has been proved in the experiment Davison-Germer experiment. So from that conclusion, I can say that the Davison-Germer experiment can be found in wave nature of particle conclusion. So now if I just summary a little bit, then it will be like Stern-Gerlach experiment P, it is giving as existence of electron spin. Then coming to Zeeman effect, Zeeman effect is giving the space quantization of angular momentum. Then Frank-Hertz experiment is giving the quantization of energy of electrons in the atoms, as I told right now, this one. Then it will be 2. And what about Davison-Germer experiment? The Davison-Germer experiment is giving like wave nature of particles. So this is the correct option. So you can see that from these 4 options, obviously the C1 is the correct one. So the answer will be C. But obviously I also told that without seeing all the experiments, if I just see the only one experiment very correctly, then also I can have the exact answer. Because I told you, no, because see that P is going to 3. If I know that one correctly, then only I can have the answer C. So this is the case. So these are the 3 questions I have. I planned to tell all of you about from that GATE questions. So GATE questions, first one is from 2018, the second one is from 2019, and the third one is also from 2018 question paper. So yeah, if you have any other questions regarding these things, then you can tell me right now, or if you have some doubt on that third question also, you can tell me. Or otherwise, I mean, among any of the questions. So whoever joined later, I just want to tell you them that I have told you about 3 questions here. So first one is from GATE 2018, and the question number is 8, and this is the question: among the electric field, magnetic field, angular momentum, vector potential, which one is the odd under parity? And the answer will be E and A only. I mean that electric field as well as vector potential. Okay. Now coming to the second question. Yes, this is the second question. Question number GATE 2019 question paper, and the question number is 24. So in that question, you can see that this is the like, let psi 1 and psi 2 are there. Psi 1 is 1 0 and psi 2 is 0 1. These two represent 2 possible states of a 2-level quantum system. The state obtained by the incoherent superposition of psi 1 and psi 2 is given by a density matrix that is defined as rho, and rho is given as like C1 psi 1 plus C2 psi 2 psi 2. If psi 1 is 0.4 and psi 2 is 0.6, the matrix element rho 2 rounded off to 1 decimal place is what? And the answer will be 0.6. Okay. Now coming to the third question here. The third question is from GATE 2018 question paper, and the question number is 8. So in the following table, group 1, group 2, Stern-Gerlach experiment, Zeeman effect, Frank-Hertz experiment, Davison-Germer experiment, wave nature of particles, quantization of energy of electrons in the atoms, existence of electron spin, space quantization of angular momentum. So we have to match group 1 with group 2. Which one of the following correctly matches the experiments from group 1 to their inferences in group 2? And there are 4 options: P2 Q3 R4 S1, P1 Q3 R2 S4, P3 Q4 R2 S1, and the 4th one. So among these 4 options, the C option will be the correct one. So this is up to that one, and I have also mentioned here about these things that Stern-Gerlach this will be capital Stern-Gerlach experiment. Stern-Gerlach experiment is they are saying about electron has spin half. Zeeman effect is talking about spectral splitting in presence of magnetic field, proves the space quantization of angular momentum. Frank-Hertz experiment is quantization of energy of electrons in the atoms. Davison-Germer experiment shows that wave nature of particles. So these 4 experiments are giving the result which I have mentioned here. So by this we can have the correct. Yes, can you see the screen right now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so what is the first question? First question is telling among electric field, magnetic field, angular momentum and vector potential which is or are odd under parity. Parity is nothing but space inversion operation. Okay, so they are asking about that question. So what we will do for that, we have to calculate the parity, what will be the state of that electric field, magnetic field, angular momentum and vector potential under the parity operator. Okay, so E, B, L and A. So I am going to write here, yes, this is the free space. So parity parity of E. So why it is like that? Just a minute. Okay. So P of E, that means P. It's fine. Okay. So P of E, that means the parity will be operated on E vector. Then what will be the value of E? If it is plus E, then it will be even under parity. If it is minus E, then it will be odd under parity. That is the main thing. Okay, and they are asking that which one will be even under parity and which one will be odd under parity. So let us first consider about E. So how to calculate that which one will be the odd or even under parity? So parity is nothing but the space inversion, right? As it is already written in that question, that it is the space inversion. So what we will do in that parity, in the presence of parity, R is going to minus R. Okay. So now from the Maxwell equation you can see that E equals to minus del V del R. V is nothing but the potential, right? So E can be written as minus del V del R. Then what will happen if I just put the parity on E? Then what will happen means, like let's say del and R. So P will operate on V, P will also operate on R. As I told you that R is going to minus R in presence of parity, then it will be like minus, inside of denominator it will be minus del R. But what about V? V will not change under its parity. I mean, it will not change its sign under parity. So that means it will remain del V itself. So what will happen here? You can see that minus is there. That means del V del R will be the answer. So if del V del R is there, that means it is nothing but minus E, right? Then I can write here P of E, which is minus E. That means the electric field will be in odd under parity. So this is for the first case, right? Now coming to the second case. What will be the second case here? I am just going to remove this one, or I can use the next page also. There are so many pages left. Yes. So there is next question, I mean next option is B. So what is B here? B is magnetic field. Magnetic field. See here from the B, I mean previously when in the first question of today's session I talked about that B will be written as curl of A, but also we can write B as V cross E by C, right? Or any here, this one, this is also fine, but also you can see that B can be also written as like okay, wait, B can be V cross C by C. Is it can be possible or not? Can you tell me what will be the V? Will be B cross C or what? It will be V cross E by C square. That can also be possible. Okay, so if I write like that, then you can see that after operating parity.
Ma'am, why V is not V is even parity? V has even parity.
V. V is not even under parity. V will be odd under parity because V we can write as dx dt, right? So x is nothing but dr dt. So right. So if I just operate V on that, then it will be like.
Ma'am, it's potential.
Oh, potential. Okay, V. Okay, that potential is a scalar potential, and scalar is nothing but singlet under parity. Singlet means like it does not change its it does not change sign under parity. Okay, And but what about vector? Vector will change its sign under parity. Axial vector will not change sign under parity. These are the three conditions. Like let's say I am talking about scalar. Let me write here anywhere. Yes, here. Scalar. If any variable is scalar, then obviously p of scalar is giving as scalar. Then p of vector is giving as minus vector. Minus vector means that means it is the odd under parity. Now p of axial vector, I will talk about what is axial vector. This is coming as plus axial vector. And also there is pseudo scalar, right? Pseudo scalar. For that pseudo scalar, it is coming as minus pseudo scalar. So what is axial vector here? Axial vector means like you know vector, you know scalar. But what is axial vector? Axial vector is nothing but L. L can be a axial vector. What is R cross P? You can see that R is also a vector, P is also a vector. But when I am going to write R cross P, then it is a axial vector. Why it is axial vector? After applying P here, then it will come as only L. It will not change its sign. How it cannot be how it cannot change its sign? Because you can see that R can go to minus R in presence of parity. It is correct, right? And what about P? I have told you this one also, but let me tell you again. What about P? P is momentum, linear momentum. Don't confuse about that parity P. This is linear momentum. So if it is a linear momentum, then P can written as m into v. So if m is dx dt, which is m dr dt. Now if I apply P under P, then it will happen like m is fine, na? M is a scalar, so that means m, there is no problem in that m. Like obviously P of m, parity under P m, then d of P of r, then d of P of t. Then if you can write here m d, then there is minus r and there is t. So what is the result? M dr dt. That means m minus v. So minus p. Then you can see that the p is odd under parity. So if p is odd under parity, and from that L expression R cross P, that means R is also odd under parity, P is also odd under parity. So that means as a whole minus minus will plus, that means L is even under parity. So this is the case. And similarly for what one was left? A. So what will be the for A? For A it is like, I can also have from the Maxwell expression that it is minus del phi del I minus del A del T, right? So if I write operate P on E, then you can see that, like let's say I am just going here, that del of P of A, del of P of T. So P of T is like only T, and P of E I have already told you that it is giving us minus E. So minus E and then minus del of P of A and then del of T. So to have the exact expression correct, obviously we have to tell that P of A is minus A, otherwise it will not be correct, right? So P of A is minus A, so that it will be minus minus plus, that means our minus E will be there. So P of A will give as minus A value. So that means there will be some contribution that P of E is minus E, P of A is minus A, P of L is L, P of B is B. So this is magnetic field, axial vector, this is axial vector, this is a vector, this is vector, and these two vectors are odd under parity, and these two are even under parity. So whatever was the question, from that question I can conclude that E and A, these two will be odd under parity. Okay. Is there any other question? regarding these things.
Ma'am, can you please explain pseudoscalar?
Pseudoscalar. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so pseudoscalar, I told you here, where I wrote here about pseudoscalar. Yes. So pseudoscalar, for that pseudoscalar, it will come as minus of pseudoscalar. Okay. So let me give you one example of pseudoscalar. Can anyone have the example of pseudoscalar? What will be the example for pseudoscalar, so that we can have the expression for that also. Okay, I have given you one table so that you can see from that one also. I will tell you about pseudoscalar, but first let me show you this one. This is the not this one at first. Yeah, this is the first one. Where is this one? Oh, that one has okay. So there, this is the odd under parity. All the things are odd under parity, right? So but I have told you that pseudoscalar means it will be odd under parity. Then
Magnetic field?
Sorry.
Magnetic field is pseudo vector, I think.
Pseudoscalar, pseudo vector. So yeah, so pseudoscalar, whatever it will be, it will odd under parity. Now obviously someone inside of this table, it should be a pseudoscalar, right? Now coming to the pseudoscalar. Acha, magnetic flux, what is it? It is obviously a scalar, right? Yes.
Yes, yes.
But it is pseudoscalar because it is odd under parity. Velocity, obviously it is a vector, position is a vector, acceleration is a vector, linear momentum is a vector. Just a minute. I'm just coming. There is someone is coming. Just a minute. Okay, sorry. So let me continue that session. Yeah. So magnetic flux. Magnetic flux is a pseudo-scalar. Why it is pseudo-scalar? Because the electric flux, whatever it was there, that is simple scalar. But magnetic flux, how it is coming? Magnetic flux is coming about a magnetic surface normal. That means, let's say the normal means like R, and then there will be a dot product between R, and there will be dot product B. So you can see that R and B, these two are vector, right? And exact vector. I mean, and but the dot product is giving the magnetic flux. That means it is a pseudo scalar. That means it is a scalar basically. R and dot B, it is giving a scalar. But if I just do P of R dot B, then you can see that P of R is minus, P of B is plus. That means it is as a whole giving as minus value. That means odd under parity. So as a whole it is a scalar, but this is not exactly behaving as scalar because its parity is even. I mean it is even, it is odd under parity. So that's why we can that's why we can say that it can be a pseudo scalar. So the magnetic flux is a pseudo scalar, but what about that simple flux, electric, I mean that's charge flux, that is only scalar. Whatever I was talking about phi, I mean V, that V is a scalar, but our phi is magnetic flux, which is pseudo scalar. So this pseudo scalar is odd under parity. So this is the case, because it is like R dot B, and R under R it is minus R, and under B it is B only, right? So if it is like minus r dot b, that means minus phi will come, but as a whole it is a dot product, that means it will behave as a scalar function. But as it is a odd under parity, that's why we can say that it is a pseudo scalar. So this is the case. Now you can also see that there are so many variables which are odd under parity, and I have also mentioned that even under parity, but where are they gone? Maybe, okay, let me, yes, here you can see, yes, these are even under parity. Okay, so there are so many parameters which are even under parity. Here also you can see that electric potential is even under parity, but here magnetic flux, what is this? It is odd under parity because it is a pseudo scalar. And what about this? These three are obviously the vector, so that's why it is odd under parity. Linear momentum is also a vector, and these things are there. Force is also a vector. Force means you can see that F equals to m into A, and A is obviously minus odd, so that means F will be a odd. Then current density is vector, electric field, sorry. So these things are vector, odd under vector. Then electric displacement, polarization, vector potential, Poynting vector, these things are odd under parity. And these things are even under parity. Yes, this one. You can see that time, mass, energy, charge density, power, electric potential, energy density, angular momentum, magnetic field, auxiliary magnetic field, magnetization, Maxwell's stress tensor, these things are odd and even under parity. And here you can see that the magnetic field is also there, as well as the angular momentum is also there. Angular momentum, what I told, it is the axial vector. In axial vector we can have the even parity under the operation of parity. I mean, it is even under parity. So this is the case. Do you have any other question? Okay, so this expression, I think it's very simple for all of you. Rho 2 is there, and you are just going to calculate rho 2 value. And I will suggest you to calculate these two also, and you have to tell me what is the value of these two.
0.
It will be 0 or not?
0.
Have you calculated? Okay.
Yeah.
So these two are same and these two are 0, right?
Yes.
And what about rho 1 1?
0.4.
This is C1, nothing but C1. Why it is coming like rho? Okay. And rho 2 is 0.6. Where is that? Yes, rho 2 is 0.6. Because you can simply say, see from that psi 1, rho psi 1, then obviously the which term will cancel out? This term will cancel out, because psi 1 psi 2 psi 2 psi 1 will be there, and psi 1 psi 1 psi 1 psi 1 is there. So that means it will come as only C1. So that's why we can have 0.4 value. Okay, so is there any other question? There is something. Yeah, V is a scalar, so that's why it is not changing under parity. I mean, it is not changing its sign under parity. Okay, so I think it's already mentioned. Okay, previously. Okay, so if you have any question, you can ask me, or we can stop today's session, and we will. I think we will discuss next week thermodynamics, maybe, as far I remember. Maybe it is thermodynamics. Yes, maybe. Okay, so do you have any question? Or otherwise we can stop today's session.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, tell me.
What is incoherent superposition, ma'am?
Incoherent where it is, this one. Yes. So what is incoherent superposition? Incoherent superposition is like, yes. So here psi 1 and psi 2 is given, na? So a coherent superposition means there should be some relation between psi 1 and psi 2, like there will be a non-zero value here, psi 1 psi 2 mod. But here you can see that this is a psi 1, and if I calculate psi 1 and psi 2 here, that means there will be no connection between psi 1 psi 2 bracket notation. That means psi 1 and psi 2 are two independent states fully. But if is this? Okay, I don't know, but yeah. So yeah, so that means incoherent superposition means like whatever the superposition is coming here, in that superposition, this is the incoherent superposition. Superposition means like what? The linear combination of psi 1 and psi 2, right? So incoherent superposition means there will be Kate and Bra notation, Kate and Bra notation. But in that coherent superposition, that type of superposition will also be present. And for that case, the value of psi 1 and psi 2 of bracket notation will give a non-zero value. But here we are talking about incoherent superposition, so that it will be like Kate, then Bra, then again Kate, then Bra, like that. So when if it is a incoherent superposition, that's why we can write like that. If it can be a coherent superposition, then we can have a non-zero value of psi 1 psi 2 bracket notation. That is the thing. But can you tell me what is this one? This is a WhatsApp group or something?
Yes, ma'am.
Which WhatsApp group?
It's for grade 2020.
Should I join on that? Copy link.
Yeah.
I'm just going to copy this and I will paste it in my mobile so that I can join. Okay, thank you, Rajiv. Yeah, thank you. So yes, oh, this one. So this is the case. And what about another thing? Or I think I should stop today. Okay, if there is no question, we will start tomorrow, next week. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Good night.